welcome to Allergy Dragon's Lair. My name is Martha Morgan. I'm your host. I'm a specialty diet and allergy chef, and I have a couple food allergies, celiac disease, alpha-gal, and my biggest claim to fame is raising a child with over 30 food allergies to adulthood. Well, I like to share people's stories and inventions that they are doing to, really help our space and help our community. And I got a really great guest today. So I'm so excited and I know I say this every time, but I really am truly excited to connect with everybody that I have on this podcast. So without further ado, let's jump into this podcast episode right after I do my disclaimer. The views expressed here on our show are the personal opinions and life experiences of our guests and ours. We are not healthcare providers or doctors. However, some of my guests have been. Please seek advice from your personal healthcare professional for any diagnoses or changes to your healthcare plan. Okay, well, without further ado, let me introduce our awesome guest today. I have Anthony Winston III, and he is here from Canada with Worry-Free Foods. But that's not all that Anthony does by any means. They have a very awesome story, him and his wife. So I'm just going to let you kind of like jump in here, Anthony, and kind of explain who you are, introduce yourself, because nobody else can explain it better than you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us on. When we started the brand, you started going through creating your social media and the algorithm kick in and, you popped up and I was just really impressed because our little one, she wants to become a food scientist. With you being a chef in the allergy space, that's as close as you can get to being a allergy food scientist. So I appreciate what you do. But yeah, I'm a engineer by trade, actually. I'm an electrical engineer. I'm originally from the US and we moved to Nova Scotia about 3.5 years ago. And that's kind of where this kind of, I would say, somewhat started in terms of the business idea. But I guess I can back up a little bit. We have two daughters, Olivia and Charlotte. They're now 9 and almost 10. So they're 16 months apart. And when my wife got pregnant with Charlotte, Olivia was an infant and she was breastfeeding at the time and she got pregnant and so she started to dry up, which can happen when you get pregnant again. And so the next best thing we thought was to get some formula. And I go to work that day. She stays home to kind of work through that transition process because she was a teacher. I'm commuting from Marietta, California to downtown LA. And as I come out of the tunnel from the subway into downtown LA, I got a bunch of missed calls and voicemails from my wife, Erin. And she's like, Olivia can't breathe. The ambulance is coming. And it's like multiple voicemails, and I'm like freaking out. So I call her back. She gave Olivia the bottle of formula, and Olivia just immediately starts forcefully vomiting, so much so that she couldn't breathe. And then, of course, anaphylaxis kicks in, and the ambulance shows up, and they give her, it took two EpiPens for her to calm down. And because of where we lived, there was no children's hospital. So they had to go all the way to San Diego. And so I'm in downtown LA. I didn't drive, and it took me about 4 hours to get back to them, trying to catch trains and all of that. And so even at the hospital, they still didn't know what was going on. So they gave her milk. And of course, the process started all over again. And we get her tested. They do the skin test, and her back just lights up with a bunch of stuff. I had started my own company in the engineering space, so I had a lot more freedom. And so I was there at the doctor's office with her, and it's just a whole new experience. Everything is just brand new, and all of these new allergies start, come into our lives. That kind of started us on our journey. And then Charlotte was born. When she got a little bit older, around the time of, about to start solid foods, we got her tested, and she was even worse. And
Mm.
so between the both of them, they were allergic to eggs, dairy, gluten, nuts, peanuts. Soy was in there as well, shellfish. Soy didn't last too long, but that was just a really scary period in our lives as parents. So,
Definitely, definitely. I was like trying not to tear up because I know that whole feeling because Vesper was 9 months old when we were introducing food and we had to experience our first anaphylactic reaction, no EpiPens and no nothing. So I know the terror, that induces. So I don't think, if you're a parent and you have a kid with an allergy, or I mean every parent has to deal with something with your kid, but it's just a different type of fear, and people don't understand it unless they've had to be through it. So I
yeah.
definitely connect with you on that. And I know a lot of the listeners can. Do you all have any food allergies yourselves, you and your wife?
It's funny. All my life, if I ate a really ripe banana, my mouth starts itching.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until, me and my wife got together, she's like, I think you got a food allergy. But other than that, as long as it's not super ripe, I'm fine, which I don't even know if that's really an allergy. I have asthma, so I guess I've heard that can contribute to it. So
Hmm.
nothing to the scale. I didn't even know anybody with food allergies until, my kids came into our lives.
I'm the same way. I didn't know I had any food allergies until after my kid. And it was like,
Oh,
oh, that might be a thing. So I was 26 when I first started with that. And then later on celiac disease, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. But it's come so far. I know you have like you said, they're 10 and 9, right? It's crazy to see the growth in this space in the 20 years, but yet so much still needs to happen because when we came about, having to deal with it, there was no food labeling here in the US because it was 2002, 2003 is when Vesper actually had first reaction. So there was no mandated labeling until 2004, 2005 in the US. And so it's crazy to think how young that is. Like how new that is. And then 2015 for gluten, having any parameters. So it's like we're so far behind yet at the same time like everything just seems to be snowballing, but it's just
yeah.
boggles the mind, but we've come a long way in the 20 years I've been in the space. And then people that even before that were raising children before well, I was like right on the cusp of the internet, but there really wasn't anything out there. It was like, here you go. And they sent you
Yeah.
home. And I know that there's still people that are having those experiences. Like, how was it when you got the diagnosis? Did you have a good amount of support for it, or was it here just good luck?
It was the good luck. It was
Right.
definitely, they didn't really send, I don't remember getting any pamphlets or anything like that. It's here's your EpiPens, keep it with you. And
Uh,
we were lucky, obviously the internet and social media were around. So we were able to do a lot more research than you probably had access to, readily available. So that was very helpful. It also helped that we ate pretty clean anyway. And so the transition wasn't as abrupt. I look at, me and my wife, we're vegetarian, been vegetarian almost 5 years, and I'll see like someone who's way older than us, right? In their 70s, 80s, who are vegan, and they've been vegan for decades. And I can only imagine how, difficult it was because now you got tons of products out there and they're not all the greatest for you. But to your point, with the food labeling, like our kids were born in 2014 and 2016. So it was a much easier journey in that sense, than it would have been for you.
Yeah, and like I said, it's still difficult no matter where you're at. But to look back, at times like you are now 10 years in, can look back and see how far things have grown and that you're adding to that by having worry-free food in place. Because, I think that that's what it is. We become kind of, I think it's a superpower for allergy parents. We kind of like see something missing and we go, oh, we need to do that,
Mhm.
type of thing. What is worry-free foods?
It's the idea sparked when we moved here because we used to buy a waffle mix when we were in the US. It wasn't even on the store shelves. You could only buy it online. And so when we
Mm,
moved here, it was like an extra $100 to ship it. And I'm like,
whoa.
we're not doing that. And this was like pre-tariffs. And so I started looking at ingredients for products that are free from major allergies in like the waffle space because we really like waffles. And that really opened up my mind to combining different flours and figuring out our own thing. So it took a couple Saturdays to kind of fine tune. And like I said, I'm an engineer, so I live and die by spreadsheets. And yeah, it was like a legit science experiment. Had to scale out and all that good stuff. And I kind of came up with my own thing, and we were eating it for a while. I mean, it was 2, 3 years. I was just cooking it for the family. And one day the girl said, well, why don't we sell this so that we can help other families? And at that point, I had already started my own engineering firm and I had sold it. In my head, I'm like, I don't know if I want to climb that hill of business ownership again, because, it's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
But when we sat down and started talking to the girls and we realized that we could help a lot of people like us. And you mentioned the food labeling has come a long way, but it still has a lot more changes that have to be met. So many products with words you would never think were related to a certain allergy, right?
Hmm.
So it's like I didn't I just found out that you can have gluten, was it gluten remove wheat? And
Yeah, wheat starch, yeah. So wheat starch is technically gluten free, but it's not wheat free. So if you have a wheat allergy, that protein's still there. So yeah, that's one of the big things I preach too. So yeah, wheat starch.
and that's somewhat frustrating because if you're new to this space, you won't know, and something bad could happen. So, the kids kind of came up with this idea. We came up with the name of the company, and it went from there. And so the whole purpose of this was to create an inclusive brand that can meet the needs of a lot of people. So we started with it started with a waffle mix, and then my wife, she made a good point. She's like, "Well, why don't you make it a pancake mix as well?" And so I started experimenting with different liquid levels. And then the other thing that I saw in the space, which was kind of frustrating as a parent of kids who are allergic to eggs, is that a lot of the products out there who are free of a lot of allergens, you still have to add an egg to it. Then you're now substituting a banana. Well, how big of a banana? How ripe does it need to be? And then flax egg and chia egg, and it doesn't really taste like it should taste. And so that was one of the biggest things is I don't want to have to use an egg. And so in our product, we have psyllium husk powder, which
Hmm.
is very fine tuned. Like it's fine tuned to the hundredth of a gram because if
Yeah.
it's too little, it won't taste right, and if it's too much, it tastes nasty. Like psyllium husk powder
Yeah.
does not taste good at all.
Yeah, I use
Uh,
it quite a bit, so I totally get it. But yeah.
I mean, I experimented with vinegar and baking powder, all kinds of stuff. But at the end of it, it took a while, but we have a product that's free of gluten, dairy, peanuts, tree nuts, eggs, sesame, sulfites, fish, shellfish, sunflower, celery, mustard, lupin. We just switched our baking powder manufacturer. And so sometime in Q1 of 2026, it will be free, completely free of corn as well.
Hey, that's awesome.
So yeah, and I get messages from folks like, do you have a product that's free of potatoes? Because we have potato starch. And you kind of take that deep breath and it's like, oh, I wish I could do something, for you guys, but hopefully in the future. And so we started the brand. The goal was really to start off in farmers markets. So we started out with craft bags. We took a closet in our basement and made it food safe. And we started selling at farmers markets. And it wasn't until we started thinking about retail that distributors are like, you need to think beyond just, the Halifax Regional Municipality, HRM, and think nationally. And then they started saying, this would do really well in food service. And that's when it kind of just started rolling. And we started finding the right resources like Food and Beverage Atlantic, who helps food businesses kind of grow and scale. And we launched September, and now we're in 16 stores throughout Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, also one gluten-free store in Alberta in the Calgary area as well.
Mhm.
So it's been a really great response. The community has embraced us, and it's just been a interesting journey.
Good. I mean, it's awesome. We both have started following each other on social media, and so it's been interesting to watch your all's journey. It's passion that you're talking about and the kids being involved, and I think that's what's awesome with allergy brands and the struggle that we have here in the US and probably the same thing in Canada, I can only assume, is the fact that, once you start to get too big, you kind of can lose control of situations. And you're trying to keep the product affordable and you're trying to, like you said, you're trying to appeal to everybody, but there's still somebody that's going to have an allergy because you can be allergic to anything that you cannot help, no matter how well your mix is. Potato, I have quite a few clients that have potato allergy. Unfortunately, it's one of those things, but to be corn free is huge too. To be free of everything, it gets to the point where, you can only do so much because you still have to have a good product at the end of the day. Like you said, not to mention that you couldn't have a specialty blend that doesn't have potato in the future. But it sounds like you all are doing amazing. I have not tried the product. I hope to eventually get to be able to try the product, tell people my opinion on it as far as that's concerned. But the fact that you all are doing as well as you do, I think it speaks for itself that it is a good quality product and that people are enjoying it and are trusting you. And that's the biggest thing is being transparent in this space. And sometimes we have to lead the charge in that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the trust, like, food allergy and anxiety, even with celiac disease, it's a huge deal. I've witnessed it firsthand with our kids. We travel a lot as a family. We're actually about to go on a cruise here a couple days, and day one, it's hard, right? You have to meet with the kitchen staff and make sure things are done correctly because they've been sent to the infirmary on cruise ships, even though we told them what they're allergic to. And so we still go to farmers markets. Like we have a gluten-free in Dartmouth, a city nearby, they have a gluten-free holiday market, and we were able to get on last minute. But the great thing about in-person events is that you're able to build that trust. We've had people, and I can sense it. They're about to walk past our table, and we'll have samples, and I'm like, "Hey, would you like a waffle sample?" And you can just tell by the way they say no that they're nervous about it. And I'll say something like, it's free of the top allergens, it's celiac safe. And they'll kind of turn like, wait, what? A waffle that's celiac safe? And they'll come over, they'll try it, and a lot of times they'll buy it. But to see the look on people's faces, to have a product that's thoughtful of them and their needs, it goes a long way. Like nobody needs a waffle or pancake, but people do need to feel included.
Exactly. That's it right there. And yeah, I almost get worried when people don't have that forthright when I'm at a farmer's market or anything myself, and they don't ask the question. Like people think that I'll get offended or that kind of thing. And I'm like, no, I expect you to ask me a question because I would. PTSD is real. I've had allergic reactions and reactions with celiac. So I understand that fear is there, and you've had to live it and witness it with your family. And so, who better else to be like, no, that's fine. You can ask me every single time you come by and make sure that I haven't changed anything, you know.
Yeah.
So I think with that, that's awesome.
And like you mentioned about brands when they get too big, if that happened and we got really, really big, like we have to stick with our purpose, which is in our logo, peace of mind, one bite at a time. And that was very intentional because you get some brands who will change a formulation and they may notify you on the label just slightly, but sometimes you don't notice it, right? We want to make
Hmm.
sure that we never change formulations, and if we do, it's because we're removing something in the product.
So what future plans do you all have for worry-free foods?
Right now, we're in development of new products. I really want to make our products where you're only just adding oil and water or oil and like a dairy-free
Hmm.
milk to keep that simplicity and not having to use an egg if you're allergic to eggs. So I can't mention the product yet, but I'm doing some in-person testing now and getting some good feedback from surveys and things like that. But food service is something that we really want to jump into. Local university is interested in carrying our product for their our top 9 allergy-free section of one of the food halls. And so they want to start a breakfast program, and there's potential for using our waffle mix. Similar to how when you go to a hotel, you can dispense your own thing. Well, they want to do that with a product that, kids with allergies can have. But getting into hospitality, getting into medical facilities, because it wasn't allergy related, but our daughter was hospitalized and there wasn't much food there for her, it blows my mind, right? But yeah, that's where we see the future going, and then also exporting. So across the pond, we're having some conversations now. Obviously, in the U.S., the tariffs kind of put a halt on some things for us, but hopefully that subsides.
I definitely can't wait to try it when you get to that point. I just want to go ahead and we'll kind of wrap up. My ending question is always if you have anything you want to say that was not covered or you want to leave an ending thought.
Food should really bring people together. But when you have food allergies, or celiac disease, family or gatherings with friends can be a really scary place. So we wanted to create a brand that creates products where maybe the host of those events, they don't have to think, can provide something that's safe for people, that brings people together that are normally scared to go to those events. It's really cool to see people try our product and they're used to tasting, especially gluten-free products that don't taste very good. But it's all about inclusivity. Our kids go to an allergy friendly summer camp every year and they met a friend My daughter had a birthday party and the little girl came, and my wife was giving her a cupcake that my wife made from scratch, free of everything that the little girl is allergic to. And the look of fear in her face was just heartbreaking. And we reassured her and just told her, like, you're safe here. And that's the feeling that I want people to always have when they eat our product, is that you're always safe with us.
It's worry-free food.
Yeah. And, we're on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and we try to post as much as possible to help, to show people our journey, not only from a food allergy standpoint, but from a business startup standpoint, because it's definitely a journey. We're on Amazon Canada. Hopefully we'll get into other countries' Amazons as well. And check us out at worryfreefood.co.
Well, I will definitely have all the links down below when I do publish this episode. So definitely make sure you all check those out. Thank you so much, Anthony, for taking the time to be here. I really appreciate it. I thank you for sharing our story. Thank you for doing everything you're doing in our space to make it worry-free for us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I guess that wraps it up. Stay tuned for other episodes. Check out other episodes and links below. Check out Anthony and Worry Free Food, and we will see you all later. Bye.
Bye.